they invited me on, and then Jordan Maxwell finally made it on, and the poor guy didn't even remember me. By this time his brain was so shot, he didn't even remember me. He didn't remember, I mean, he knew who I was, but he didn't remember our past. So we got along, which was all good. That's the wonderful thing about age, is you kind of forget those things, but that's okay. It's kind of like alcohol. Did we get in a fight last night? Oh, hell no. Are you kidding me? We had sex, it was great. You sure? I thought we were fighting. But anyway, Jordan, so I'm on the radio and he starts talking about Zeus. He says, you know what's wrong with the world? You're all screwed up because you're not worshiping Zeus. I'm like, oh my God. Is this guy serious? This is what he wants to die with? This wants to go out on Zeus? This is a good idea? So it's like,
now we're in the Zeus ballroom.
in the Zeus ballroom. Here we are in the Zeus ballroom.
New series Chaos. Jeff Goldblum is playing Zeus.
Jeff Goldblum, you say?
And yeah, he plays the biggest asshole version of Zeus you can conceive. All the other gods are trying to overthrow Zeus.
Okay, I know. Who puts that out?
Netflix.
Netflix. Let me tell you about Netflix. Okay, Isabel, we're gonna go have fun here. Who cares, right? Okay, one of the issues I had back during the QAnon issue was when they were trying to take it over my QAnon group on Facebook, and they had this was actually run by was Roger Stone set up a group. It was called the Mayflower Group, but this was all run out of a place in Encino, okay, which was run by a wizard who was a talent scout, what have you. But you were talking about the Zeus thing. I'm sorry.
It doesn't matter.
Don't just say it. Yeah, say what you're talking about, because my brain's shot. So please.
Where Zeus is actually a huge asshole and arrogant that he has all the power and all the other gods want to take him out.
All right, that was probably something else.
My topic.
Oh, Netflix. That's what. Okay. Well, anyway, bottom line is we got into a big fight with these guys, and we brought in the big guns. We brought in all hell. We brought in the real estate people to do all the searches of the public records of everything of who owned what where. We used all the satellite photos, but we did get the psychics in there. We knew where the bodies were. We knew where their tunnels were. We found the tunnel entrances. We knew what they were doing where, and we actually had insiders. There was one of my connections was actually inside that group, inside there, that was actually at one time a target of their human sacrifice that went awry, so she didn't get killed, but she was one of them. And because of that, I knew these people, and anyway, they lost, but yeah, the house next door to this guy, Rick Messina, in Strawberry Lane, I think it is, in Encino. House next door is supposedly owned by a Netflix executive, supposedly. In reality, it's actually owned by Rick Messina, but these houses kind of intersect and their property lines kind of blur for very strange reasons, and both these houses have most of the backyard completely covered in concrete. I know, very strange in a neighborhood like that where everyone has a pool. You know, what do they have? They have, looks like a kindergarten playground, only all concrete. Anyway, the point is why they need all the concrete, because there's a fucking tunnel entrance in the garage of the house next door. And you go in the garage and the wall opens up and they drive down in this tunnel, and where does it go? Skirball Center. The largest Jewish cultural center in the United States. Just a coincidence? And guess what the Skirball Center connects to by tunnel? The Getty. So, you know, and I'll tell you, these people, these are the people that are on TV. This one woman was on Saturday Night Live, if you'll heard this. Actually, her husband was on Saturday Night Live, and he died, you know, mysteriously, but when he died, she lost her ability to get access to the Lizard Club, which basically was the little Satan club that allowed them to get access to the tunnels, which made them special. You know, you guys have heard this story, but have you? Who's heard this story?
Bits and pieces.
Anyway, it doesn't matter, you know, whatever. But the point is that what is the point? The point is we knew about this for a long time, all right? You know, when we first, 12 years ago, when we were talking about, you were there, you remember, I mentioned the Skirball Center, did I not? Did anybody say anything about that? Now here we are, you know, you got guys crawling out tunnels in New York. You got all that crazy stuff going on in these, places like Ukraine, Kiev, and Tel Aviv, and what have you. It's all the same people, it's all the same thing, and it's really crazy. We're all going to die. And who is actually, this is the thing. People, nobody asks what's under the Getty. What's under the Getty besides the children? They don't really want to know about who's abusing these children. And I'll tell you, it's just like when I was on stage 12 years ago. I tried to quote that passage out of the Protocols where they talk about the tunnels and how that's their secret weapon, is these tunnels and these bunkers. And I couldn't even say it. I couldn't even really put that out there. Obviously, I mentioned the Skirball Center, which was code for a whole lot of stuff, but no one really got it. Here we are today. But well, what can I tell you? Now all of a sudden it's very prevalent, and yet, David says, no, don't mention the Getty. I'm going to get sued. I asked him. I said, David, I want you to have this other guy on here. I forgot Robert Seffer. I want to have him on here. I thought, he said, what do you need, David? I said, David, you need some quality people on your roster here. He's like, well, who? Like who? How about Robert Zephyr? I'd love to be on a panel with that dude, talk a little bit about Phoenicia and stuff. And he goes, oh, this guy's too controversial. We get too many arguments. He tells me these other people are full of shit, stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, I don't know, is it because he knows a lot about what he's talking about? I mean, my God, if I can have some respect for, I still don't respect the guy, obviously, but I certainly have a lot of respect for some of these things. I mean, a lot of people that I don't really like will once in a while say something that's really useful, like Charlie Freak, another really useless parasitic, who knows what you want to call him, go and tell, whatever. Once he said, it's the Phoenicians that started all the banking and the coins and the usury and all that. I'm like, damn right. It's like, really? Oh my gosh, pearls of wisdom from Charlie Freak. Who would have thought? I mean, seriously, how come I'm not hearing that from anybody else? I mean, seriously, does anybody ever talk about Phoenicians? Dennis, does any of these people out there, you ever hear them talk about Phoenicians? Not one.
Not once.
Not one. But you hear them talking about the other guys? You hear that a lot, huh? Yeah, well, the J people, or whatever you want to call them, I'd rather just call them Phoenicians because, nobody knows their history. Hell, nobody even knows that Israel split in two. Nobody knows about it. They don't realize that most of it stayed north and a little tiny bit went south, and those guys went to Babylon, the rest of them went to Assyria. They're Assyria, what's that? Phoenicia, what's that? Oh, that's Lebanon. Oh, that's just a piddly-ass little Lebanon, that's like nothing. No, Phoenicia, that's like the entire Mediterranean, most of the uncharted world that we haven't even discovered that they were. Do you realize that the Phoenicians were the only ones that had the trees capable of making the boats that could sail the ocean? The only ones. Did you know that? I mean, seriously, what was there tree-wise? Do you think the Huns and those guys in the Alps and what have you, think they're cutting down the pine trees to make boats? Hell no, they were savages. But the life, the civilization, of course, was around the Mediterranean and the Fertile Crescent. And who had trees? Lebanese cedar. Big, tall, straight trees that made big, straight planks of wood. Who else had trees? Let's see, the Egyptians? No, they had little acacia trees that would maybe get 4 or 5 feet tall. And they could get and then sure, you could build a little raft that could go up and down the Nile, but you're not going to be sailing to Australia or the New World on that. But yeah, the Phoenicians, they went back to 6000 BC. Come on, they had 4,000 years of everybody else. Our history pretty much starts from 2000 BC. Like, oh, well, these guys and those guys, and then, oh, that's Solomon, that King David, he was so wonderful. They weren't shit. They lasted for 1 generation each. That's it. Well, there were like 19 generations after the fall of Solomon, but they didn't last very long because those kings were like assassinated. They weren't even related to Solomon. They were like the Solomon's chauffeur, the sergeant of arms, whatever, these guys, whoever had the opportunity to kill who was over in power became king. And it was that each one of them roasted their babies alive. And why did they do that? Because that's what they did in Phoenicia. You know, who built the temple? The Phoenicians, not the Egyptians. Why are there Jews all over the Mediterranean? Why are there Sephardic Jews? Because of the Phoenicians, their boats. People say, well, what about the New World? What about the Egyptian artifacts we're finding in Canada, or not Canada, but the Grand Canyon, places like this, different Mesoamerica, different. Well, come on, if you have a culture that goes back to 6,000 BC, I mean, how many thousand years would go by before another culture would even come by and have any would even notice that the Phoenicians were there? It's like, how many thousands of years? You know, when the Bronze Age collapsed, the real Phoenician Empire collapsed, because that's what they were based on. They were based on the Bronze Age. And a lot of people, nobody really studies that. They don't understand it. They don't have any clue of what the world was like back in that time period. And a lot of things happened. But the modern world that we're, you know, post-Iron Age, Industrial Age, etc., that we've gone into, of all, the Bronze Age, of course, was like a really big deal. You know, and during that period of time, the Phoenicians were all over the entire world. They were as far south as Australia. They're finding their artifacts in Australia. You know what they're finding? We know what kind of artifacts they're finding? Stone altars where they killed children. Same damn stuff. And what are we talking about today? Places with stone altars where they kill children. You know, there's an altar in the Getty on display. It's made out of marble. If you've ever been in the Getty, you've probably seen it. It's a prominent feature of a certain time period. You know, it's one of the first things you see. It's just a big white stone slab on top of two, whatever, you know. What is it? It's an altar. What's it for? Obviously, we know what it's for. It's not for eating food. They didn't have a chalice and breaking bread on it. They did other things. We know they did these things. And I'll tell you, back to Sean David Morton, one time he was pissed off at me, and he made a rude comment regarding Terry Joyce. But he was jealous. He had whatever. He was weird. There was a lot of weirdness out there, but he made some comment like, "Oh, you're gonna go have sex on that stone altar under the Getty?" And I'm like, why do I know that you know what you're talking about? Why do you sound like you know exactly what you're talking about? Because they do. They act like they don't know what I'm talking about. I say, well, you know, they do this, and they go, oh, you're crazy. They know damn well. They all want to be part of it. Every one of these elitist bastards wants to be part of it, like Cappy, when he took that little video. He couldn't stand it. He had to take a video of the little girls in the steam room or the Turkish bath rubbing, you know, getting the bath, the surface of the whatever marble ready so they could rub them down. They're looking at him like, what are you doing with that camera? That's not allowed. You know, you could see it in their faces when they're watching him, whoever was taking the picture. That was Isaac Cappy. That's who killed him. Who killed him? Sawman Sawyer. I can say things like this on camera because what's he going to do? Say it's not true? That's like the Getty. You either come and tell me it's not true, you want to sue me? Sue me. There's this thing called evidence, right?
You get to do discovery. Yeah.
Discovery, yeah. And they'll say, sure. You know, I'll tell you a story about discovery. One of the most simplest stories to show you how easy they hide this shit, and that is when the Atomic Energy Commission went to visit the Diamona reactor over there in Diamona Negev Desert, whatever, over there where the Israelis build their atomic bombs with our money they use against us on 9/11. They had this big underground structure that was underneath the cafeteria, one of those big buildings. There's like where the cafeteria was, and they had an elevator, just like this room right here. If you had this wall behind me, there'd be an elevator door. And before the Atomic Energy Commission guys showed up, they built a damn wall in front of it. You know, probably rolled 2x4s and plaster and painted it and wallpaper, whatever, and put some flowers and some paintings or whatever. No more elevator. Now, I've done this before myself when I had to have my building inspected and I had some plumbing. I had a shower in my office and I wanted to hide. What did I do? I put plywood in front of it. Built a little thing around it, covered up with plywood. Guys come in and do inspection. What's behind this plywood? Oh, storage. You know, so the Atomic Energy Commission can't, look through the wall. You think if I'm going to inspect the Getty, I'm not going to go through walls? That's like Al Capone's vault. Yeah, we'll go through your damn concrete. I told you about that tunnel over there that went to the Skirball Center in Encino. As soon as I went public about that tunnel entrance, you know what they did? They filled it in with concrete. Sealed that shit up. You know what else they did? They dug up all the bodies. They went and dug up all the bodies. I knew exactly where the bodies were, because we had psychics. You know where the bodies were? They were on a slope on the back of the house. And you know what they like to do? They was on top of the Encino Reservoir. Because bad chi flows down. And they do these sacrifices and shit, and the energy flows down, and it goes into the water, which is a chi superconductor, and we all drink that shit. That's why they do these sacrifices and stuff there. But anyway, you know where else they did that was over in the McMartin Preschool when we did that. You guys remember McMartin Preschool anyway? They would fly the kids up to Cresswell, city up here by Arrowhead, and there was a home there on the hillside. They called it Satan's Castle and all the elites. Actually, Cresswell is a very satanic city. There's actually, if you go to Cresswell, there's a whole bunch of people that are satanic, and they will protect this stuff. In fact, the local church across the street actually had a tunnel connecting to the Satan's Castle. When McMartin Preschool case came out and the link between the Satan's Castle came out, the local church people went and burned down this home, as to go against it, whatever, but I'm sure it had nothing to do with them trying to hide the evidence of the tunnel connected to their church. But anyway, point is that right on the edge of this big cliff with this grand vista going out over San Bernardino County, whatever it is, where they would perform these rituals, right below there was called Devil's Canyon, and right in there was Devil's Reservoir. So it's the same thing. They do this shit right over the water, drinking water. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. What were we talking about? What do you guys want? Go what?
What would it mean if there were other people doing healing remotely apart from you?
Okay, again, you want to talk about healing? What a different direction. I mean, oh gosh. Healing, Jesus said, do as I have done because I have gone to the Father and I will not be here. And you will do better than I have done. So what about other people? The apostles went to Paul, the people said to Paul, look, that guy over there, he's trying to do healing. He's not even one of us. He's not an apostle. Jesus said, you know a tree by his fruit. He's doing good works. That's the key. All right? You know a tree by its fruit. Satan doesn't heal. If you have the gift of healing, it's not because someone has made a gift of the devil and you're selling your soul or whatever. It's a gift, okay? It's because Satan wants to destroy as an anti-human, and there's no such thing as extending life and healing. He wants to trick you. It's not like Dorian Gray or something of this nature. Anyway, I lost my train of thought, so I'm just going to hand it over to you guys. I don't really care. What? Dennis, you got a question. I know you do.
Done with Netflix?
Oh, more with Netflix. Well, the connection of Netflix, of course, was the fact that a lot of corporations are owned by an obvious demographic, and they know by the production of the content that they provide that they're trying to achieve a certain agenda. It's very, very knowledgeable. Now bear in mind that this home next door to this Netflix exec's home, where they had these parties, this guy, Rick Messina, is a talent scout for comedians. Guys like Rick Carey, Joan Garofalo, the Tool guy, Rick, whatever his name was. All, I'm sure newer people, but all the big names that you know. I've seen him hanging out with this guy. He's got pictures of him. One of the guys he hangs out with is Patton. Patton Oswalt, yeah. Patton Oswalt is an unapologetic pedophile.
Okay.
Oh, you didn't know
I
that?
like him.
Oh, do you think he does all that Disney stuff and kitty voices for, I'm a mouse. I get a yellow idiot. It's like Nickelodeon. Oh my God, you guys couldn't figure out that that's entire pedophilia the entire time. It's like these grown men, 40-year-old men with these little 16-year-old, 15-year-old girls, like, let's go to the swimming pool and have sexual innuendo and crap like that. It was nothing but sexual innuendo. I mean, I don't know if you watch Nickelodeon or not, but yeah, there's a reason why those guys went to jail. And of course, the industry protects that, and that's the issue here when we talk about Netflix and stuff, is that it is the industry, it is everything, that is the enemy. And when we talk about tunnels under the Getty and all that crap, there's every single person involved in that industry, Hollywood, and especially the child stars and all that, they go through this. They're subjected to it. And I'll tell you, when a kid, say like a Mouseketeer type person, I don't even know if they have that anymore, but Mouseketeers went through this stuff. I know one. I know a Mouseketeer back from I think it was the 80s. She was a Mouseketeer during the 80s. And she was, they collected the adrenochrome, everything from her. She's seen it all. She's gone down in the tunnels of Club 33 that the Masons are trying to get me to not talk about, because it's a Mason club, because this stuff is all Mason. But the point is that they would have talent scouts and training and studio school system and managers' offices. And in other words, is that when a child was going through this process of being a child star and having his or her education and all this integrated into the job of being a child star, they would facilitate them having to go to places, and very often these places were all in one place, and this allowed for them to be taken down into tunnels and harvested. And these tunnels could be all over. And one of the tunnels, I think that was the most convenient for them, of course, because they would actually have to walk when they got in these tunnels, would go places like UCLA to get their fluids sucked out. That was one of the big places. They never really knew. But the thing is that these facilities underground usually correspond to the stuff that's on the top. Just like the facility under the Getty is going to have a lot of art, the facility under UCLA is going to be all, medical labs and things like this going on. But anyway, the point is that these child stars were certainly one of the main targets. And the other thing about the child stars is that they're considered genetically superior often. Okay. They choose these children from across the country, Kansas, whatever, small town, podunk thing. They'll choose this child because it exhibits qualities that they think are star-worthy, but a lot of time it's more than just they're funny or they're cute. It's because they have potentially special genetics, psychic skills, things like this that they're interested in. And this is when they're doing this genetic stuff underground. They're not just extracting loose, torturing the children, extracting these fluids. They're also taking genetic material. They're doing genetic experiments, and they're trying to find genetic codes. They're trying to find eternal life, and they're trying to extend life, and they're trying to do things like that. That's a very big thing. They're trying to basically find the fountain of youth, eternal youth, through genetics. And of course, this is obviously what the Human Genome Project is all about. It's obviously what the COVID thing is all about. It's all the same thing. But again, special people they will use. But the good thing is that those child stars are more than likely not going to be killed. Although, randomly, one of them would be killed often, usually by a dog chewing them up while they were chained to a floor in front of all the other children who were also chained to the floor, and one child would randomly get mauled by a dog. And this would keep all the children cooperative, and they would know better not to say anything. But the main thing it did, of course, was to scare the hell out of them and cause them to have this ridiculous adrenaline rush, and then they would go on harvesting. But they didn't do this that often, but a lot of times, like she would say, that when they would be walking these tunnels, and these tunnels could be anywhere from, like I said, in the show business would be like the Amundsen Center, the what is it, where they do the Oscars, those theaters right there in LA, where they have the Disney Theater. This stuff is all close by, and all these big buildings, all these locations are all connected by basement level tunnels. So a lot of this tunnel access and a lot of the walking and what's being done is like it's some sort of a basement level tunnel. You could look at these things like, well, this is just industrial. These are just for utilities. Oh, this is just civil defense. Oh, this is just for what is it, booze smuggling, bootlegging, that kind of thing. But no, the point is that every one of these buildings has that, and that will inevitably lead to a larger system. It connects everything else. It will eventually lead to, Hugh Hefner's house, Angelina Jolie's house, the Skirball Center, the Getty Center, et cetera, on and on and on and on. So the point is, it's one big, people go, oh, it's a tunnel, it's a tunnel. No, it's a sponge. It's a spider web. It's a huge, intricate pattern of things going back and forth on a 3D level. It's not just flat. And they're not living in tunnels, they're living in cities underground. It's not just under the Getty. The Getty is just the elevator entrance. The bunker underneath that shit is the entire city. It's not just the entire city. It goes to the mountains. It goes to the lakes. It goes to the ocean. It goes under the ocean. It goes to the other continents. It goes on and on and on. And it's not just the stuff that we built, the stuff that we use, because we don't even use all the stuff that's down there. There's stuff down there that's old and dusty and cold and unused, and some of it's been there for thousands of years. There are tunnels under our cities. There's no tunnels under me in La Puente. They've been there 100 years. They're probably old and full of cobwebs and dusty. No one ever uses them because they dug them for when they might build something here, or they might build something there, or maybe they want to run over here and put a big bomb and blow something up, just like they did back in the Middle Ages when they blew up a castle by digging underneath it. So this enemy is thinking the same way, and the protocols, when they say our secret enemy, our secret weapon are these subterranean tunnels that we've dug under the capitals, it's no different than when siege fortress engineers would dig tunnels underneath moats and walls and what have you and blow them up to gain access to a city. No different, only now they blow up the whole city. It's the oldest trick in the book. Things have changed, just like we're not using paper pamphlets anymore, we're using the internet, But it's the same enemy and the same weapons, and only now we got the live stream, and we got David's event. Dennis is recording. It's okay, you can fall asleep, I know, I agree. Use 2 or 3 chairs, make a bad mess. I'm serious, I would. I'd lay on this table. I'd lay behind the table. I'd let you lay behind the table. Anyway, we're just screwing around. We've been doing this for how long now? An hour and a half at least so far? I even got to dry my teeth yet. I needed this.
Maybe 40 minutes? 45.
We're less than halfway?
You've got until at least 2:30.
Wow. All right, so let me see. Wait a minute.
Yeah, good.
Hang on.
Nobody's in this room until 3:30.
Okay, what's this room?
See.
See? The Zeus room. All right, everybody, I don't care who you are. If you can hear my voice, come to the Zeus room right now because you're wasting your time if you're doing anything else. My name is D Kelley. I've been talking for 40 minutes, and now you need to come in here. It's time. All right? If you're looking at crystals or lotions and potions, they'll be there when you get back. All right? So don't waste my time. Don't waste yours. Get in here now. Thank you so much. See, I'm not yelling, David. It's the microphone. Okay, what were you going to say?
Is the bunker of all the bunkers there are, is that the most powerful of them, or is it the most accessible?
You want to know if the Getty is the most powerful of all the bunkers? Certainly not. It's like asking me if the heart is the most powerful organ in the body. You kill one, the entire thing dies. Just like if we take out the Getty, the entire thing dies. You cut off somebody's arm, you cut off their fingers, you cut off... Hell, look at these soldiers coming back from the war. They're like torsos. And they're still alive. You didn't kill them. You want to kill our enemy, you gotta go into the Getty. And then not only, you don't even have to kill the enemy by going into the Getty, because once you go into the Getty and take that over, they will pay homage to you. You will have pulled the sword out of the rock. You're going to be David, you're going to slay Goliath. It'll be over. That's basically what we're doing. This we're David, we're going to slay Goliath. If you want to use biblical terms, screw Solomon, screw David, but at the same time, we can say that we are certainly the uneducated, uncouth shepherd boy taking on the Titan here. And these people actually think they are Titans. Okay, they think they're Olympians. You talk about Zeus. Here we are in the Zeus room. These guys think they're Olympians. What you got? What? Too much reverb? What?
Yeah, it's coming out.
Well, I told you that. Why'd you have to wait for someone else to tell you?
Well, I had to check the live stream what it was sounding like.
Oh, okay.
It's
Live
a little
people.
rough.
Thank you for the feedback. Don't turn down the volume. Turn on move the speaker. Point it the other direction. Point it away from me. That's the trick. Look, point the speaker away from me, and it won't happen. Okay, seriously.
No, it's better.
It's better. I can't hear myself. That's because you turned down the volume. Dude, it's better because now the people in the other room can't hear me. Bogus. Look. Okay, that was the problem right there. Okay, turn the volume back up. Come on. I don't want to be Elvis here. Elvis is gonna have a good microphone. Jeez. Come on, testing. Now you're getting it. You're getting it. Come on. That's good. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Very good. All right. Thank you very much. That's it. That's the extent. Okay, I'm not gonna give you. I'm not that bold. Okay. Some people would say I would say, yeah, you can really do good, Elvis. Do good Frank Sinatra, but not gonna happen. Mommy didn't train me to do that. No, I was in church. I used to be in church where everybody was in the choir. We would sing, right? Hark the herald, Christmas carols. I remember the Christmas carols. Doesn't matter how bad you were, everybody did Christmas carols, right? No? Yeah? Huh? Church? Christmas carols? Come on. Yeah? Okay. Yeah, what's your favorite Christmas carol? Come on. Hark the herald, just sing. Come on, at least I remembered that. It must be that. I must be my favorite, right? I don't know. All right. Anyway, that's fine. All right. I guess nobody's going to come if I scream at them. It's probably because you have to go through a sign that says exit to get here. That's kind of, maybe we should have covered that up. Throw a shirt over that exit sign. Hi, April.
I was interested in the UFO. Is this where I'm supposed
UFOs? You want to learn about? Yeah, well, actually, it's all about, everything we do is about UFOs.
Okay.
I would invite you to come closer to the microphone. Yeah, wait, the microphone will pick you up.
Are you an UFO?
Well, I'm here to talk about quantum science and quantum computing and that kind of thing, which is technically UFOs, because that's technically teleportation, interstellar travel, all that sort of thing. So yes, if you want to understand UFO propulsion, I can't tell you about UFO propulsion. I'm probably the only one in this building right now that has any actual contact with, A, aliens, B, UFOs, government agencies, actually worked on alien technology, actually was recruited to Area 51, which I was fortunate to avoid doing, but I came up with technology and methodology for building UFOs, and I also developed methodology and technology for light speed propulsion. So both of which were related, coincidentally. And I'll tell you, I was here messing. I worked with Billy Meyer. Okay, that shows you something. Okay, I worked with Billy Meyer. You remember Billy Meyer?
No, I'm sorry, I don't know.
You don't know Billy Meyer? Okay, well, you're here to learn. Okay, you heard of Pleiadians before? You know anything about aliens at all?
I think I've met a few.
You should come here closer. Come on, don't be brave. Imagine you're on camera and how bad it looks for me to have empty seats. If I was on camera, proper camera, I would have had all of you get in front of the front row, right? I learned that 12 years ago, huh, David? When Zarutha came in the room and he said, okay, camera's put in here. All of you come down and sit right here. Yes, that's it, Philly, yes, thank you. Right? What a showman. He knows what's up. He says, and same thing, people would look at my video 12 years ago, which has had 1 million views by now. Thank you very much. And people look at that and go, it's a shame, it's such valuable information. There was nobody in the room because the camera would pan over the empty seats. Of course, everybody in the room was significant, but, it's like suggesting that the information is not significant. It's like saying, I have a gift for you, and they go, well, how much does it cost? Well, it's free. Can't be worth anything. I'm not, it's just like, this is why they don't allow me in events, because I'm not selling anything, I don't have anything of value.
Can you talk about the infirmament?
The infirmament, you want to know if the earth is flat? The firmament, not the infirmament.
The
That's
infirmament.
infirmament, the sickness. Okay, that's the firmament. No I, just F. Okay.
I'm Irish.
Oh, it's all good. All right. All right, let me just explain something to you. I mean, bear with me. I mean, I don't mind. It's okay. We can talk about it. And I'll, from the very beginning, I'm going to tell you that I'm going to try to handle this as much as respect as possible, because usually I'm not very kind when it comes to the subject matter. Okay, but I'm going to assume that you're not biased in one way or the other. But okay, people ask me, they say, Earth, is it round, flat, globe, what? Hollow. It's hollow. It is a ball. It's a hollow ball. It's a geode. It's 800 miles thick, and then you get inside, and there's a sun ball in the middle, and that's plasma. And I know that sounds wild, but that's just the way it is. That's physics. Now, we talked about the physics, and ultimately, we're going to be talking, we talk about supercomputers and all that. It's all physics. It's all math. Now, I'll tell you something about the globes and the moon and stuff like that. I'm not even talking about my own experience, but I had an encyclopedia from the Civil War era. You look up the moon, and what is there? There's some drawings, what have you, the moon, the craters and stuff, but it's all math. Massive amounts of math. He said, well, what's the, well, we've determined blah, 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 and those pages of math. Now, humans, modern humans, Americans, what have you, that is hieroglyphics. We have no clue what that is. Even mathematicians, you got to become a master's mathematician. You may be able to understand what that is. But the point is that we all got stupid. Simple things, simple stuff, mathematics. Now, if you study physics, you study quantum physics, you study metaphysics, and you really get in depth with all this stuff, and you throw out all this Vatican crap, and you throw out all this Mason crap, mythology, that kind of nonsense, Aztec, this and that, Greek, Greco-Roman, pagan, this and that. If you throw all that out, and you stick to the science, and I want to say science because that word's been corrupted, but it's not really hard to see. In other words, like, for instance, you've probably heard the term as above, as below. You heard that, right?
I haven't.
Okay, you haven't. Okay, well, there's a term. I think it's biblical, right, or something like that. As is above, as is below. And basically what that means, if you follow the physics, is that everything is linear. Okay, so when we look at physical mechanics, we look at the biology, we look at atomic structure, we look at things around us, we see a sphere. It may not be a sphere. An atom may actually be a nucleus with an electron spinning outside that makes it appear to be kind of a ball shape. But ultimately, these things are spherical in nature. And this is the nature. Now, you look at, say, like the Pentagon, or not the Pentagon per se, but like the Masonic symbol, the cross. Now, what is that a symbol for? That is a symbol of the pyramid, inverted pyramid. This is the basis of the atomic structure, and this is natural. This is what we would call sacred geometry. So when you study sacred geometry and you realize that the entire universe follows this linear pattern, you realize is that our ability to comprehend the shape and the size and the nature of certain objects can be extrapolated by understanding this concept. So in other words, we are capable of detecting things as large as a black hole, pretty much. Okay, so we say a black hole is we use that as a unit of something that we, between that we've got stars and planets and moons and ourselves and our cells and our atoms, and then we've got these, but beyond that we've got bosons and things like this. We've got smaller particles, and somebody could come on. So the point is that we don't have the technology to basically look and find anything smaller than that. But because of our knowledge, if we take that shape and that size of the energy and we compare it to the larger structures that we can also observe, we can see that they all follow a linear path. The mass and the amount of energy are equal. It's an equal ratio. It's linear. It's completely linear, which means that using that understanding, we can look at even smaller things and realize that it goes on continuously in that direction, that way, just the same as it goes in the other direction, the other way. And when you understand that, and then you hear somebody say, oh, well, the earth is flat and it's got this and that, and this is all, for our benefit and all that. Now here's the thing, I'm going to come in from another aspect. Now, I'm a laser pioneer, I'm an optical engineer. Two things. One, I made lasers, these lasers went in all the satellites. Okay, flat earthers will say there's no satellites. Flat earthers will say there's no space telescope. Flat earthers will tell you that a balloon carries it up. Every single satellite has had one of my lasers. I've worked on the space telescope. I've worked on projects that went up on the shuttle. I know astrophysics. I know how to get into orbit. I know those things. I know how fast you gotta go and where you gotta slow down and where you gotta speed back up and all that stuff. I know the physics and the math of how that works. And nobody knows it. They don't teach that shit. They just don't teach that shit. And yet we've got fuckers that say, oh look, that spaceship went off. You notice how it's going off kind of horizontally to the structure? Well, no shit, that's how you get into orbit. You know what happens when you go straight up? You come straight back down. You gotta go that way, and you gotta get parallel to the surface of the earth, and you gotta be going fast enough to actually stay up. That's how you get into orbit. And you have to be above 70,000 meters, whatever the hell, something like that, beyond the force of the gravity. People say, oh wow, gravity, that's not real. Oh my God, the atmosphere, that's not real. How could that possibly work? It's got to have a dome holding it in. How's the water staying down? Oh my God. There's a reason why there's less atmosphere the higher up you go. It's because there's less gravity up there to pull it down. It's all very, very simple. And the thing is okay, back to technology, my own personal experiences. Working with lasers, one of the first things we learned was the curvature of the earth. Because this shit is old. It goes back to damn Egyptians. It goes back to Galileo and Newton and all this crap. It's Stone Age. It's Stone Age. We've been, until we had lasers, we were working in the Stone Age. But what?
But once you get to the end, is there really the ice wall?
There's no ice wall. There's no end. I'll tell you what happens. You get far enough away from the Earth. Now again, first of all, you never leave orbit. Okay, you got to understand. People don't understand space travel. They certainly have no comprehension of interstellar travel. That is completely made up. But space travel, it's circular. Everything in space travel is circular. Everything is always circular. Always in a circle. You're always in a circle. That circle is an ellipse. It has two focal points. It has an apoapsis and a periapsis. The high point and the low point. And when you go up and get a high apoapsis, you better hope that your periapsis isn't somewhere on the surface of the earth. Okay? Otherwise you crash. So the whole purpose is to reach in your apoapsis and then putting gas on real quick so that you make your periapsis really big. This is space travel. I mean, you don't even leave the gravity of the earth until you get close to the moon. Otherwise you're in a big circle. You're going to go back. You're going to go back. Now, you may go far enough to where you may not get back for 40 years, but you're going to orbit back. That's how it works. Unless you get so far away the gravity from the Earth that you get picked up by, say, the gravity of the sun, which will happen because every single celestial body in the universe exerts gravity upon your mass, your body, the water in you, your tide. All right, and that's why we have things like Mercury retrograde and stuff like that, because even though you don't notice the effects of that astral body and its gravity on your effect on your biology, there is one, and I'll tell you, it's the same thing with spaceflight. I mean, if humans weren't so fragile, we could go all over the place, but it would just take a long time. So, anyway.
Do you know of a fellow named Bob Malone?
Oh God, I don't know. I don't want to hear about it. There's all kinds of jokers that say all kinds of things.
No, he developed all that shit.
Oh, developed all what shit?
Oh.
What shit? He's got a bunch of theories.
Anyway,
opinions.
I'm not sure how I feel about that. But anyway.
Anyway, well, good luck with that flat earth stuff, and that firmament, and that ice wall. And by the way, Nasara and all that too, med beds, let's see, what else? Oh yeah, Trump. Trust the plan.
What about the radiation belt?
Radiation belt, what about it? The Van Allen belt?
Yeah.
What about it?
Can we get it?
You ever been surfing in the ocean?
Can we?
Have you ever dove into the ocean before?
Yes.
Okay, you've gone into the surf. You know the surf. You ever gone into a heavy surf?
Yeah.
All right, what do you do to get under the heavy? What do you get to do? You got to time it, right?
I gotta go up or down.
Well, you got to choose where your path at the right time, and you choose. If you're a surfer, you don't just jump in there. You got to catch the wave.
We can get through the belt.
We can get through the Van Allen belt, yes.
Awesome information.
But we have to plan it and time it. Okay, we can do it. Who knows what happens to your body when that happens? Personally, I believe the Van Allen belt was meant to keep your soul on the earth.